As an individual, I believe that disability is a part of my core identity, and I would love to be called as disabled person.
Welcome, everyone. So, our topic for today is something that is seemingly very simple and is therefore overlooked many times, but it also proves to be sometimes controversial and a very heated topic for debate. I am talking about the terminology that we use to refer to persons with disabilities. There are a plethora of terms from disabled, persons with disabilities, specially able, differently able. And I also remember seeing different terms, like I saw this term in Dubai, which was persons of determination. Now, many of these terms carry heavy connotations and are equally liked and disliked by both from persons with and outside the community. So, to have a discussion on this, we have three very special guests with us who would be talking about these terms in detail. Our first guest is Mr. Maitre Shah, who is a law graduate from the Gujarat NLU and has been active in the disability rights sector in the last 7 years. His areas of interest include policy, technology, and law, and he's also worked with several government agencies and think tanks in different capacities. He will also be going to the University of Pennsylvania, USA for his LLM soon. Our next guest is Ms. Sana Samad, who graduated from SRCC and completed her postgrad from the Delhi School of Economics, and she's currently working with ONGC. Sana is very passionate about bringing a positive change in society and is active in many campaigns on disability rights. Finally, we have with us Tapas Bharadwaj, who is the head of inclusivity in Raindrops Foundation and is soon to be a lawyer. Apart from being a well-known name in the field of disability rights advocacy, Tapas has been a CBSE board topper, a trained vocalist, musician, an experienced debater, and he loves to interact with people. So I welcome you all. So Sana, let me begin with you. Yeah. So Sana, what do you think of these different terms that we just spoke about, and which one do you think is the most appropriate?
So this term differently abled, it means ki how the persons with disabilities do the things in a different way, be it anything. Like if suppose how we as an individual, as a visually impaired, read the books, and it is different. Like a person with low vision will use magnifier. A person with total visual impairment will take the help of screen reading software. So, and the next term which we take is specially abled. So, if we see more or less the meaning of these two terms the same, it means how the techniques which we use, they are unique and different from others for doing our work. So, I think no term, it is difficult to say any term is best. It depends on how the people look up to us, how and what they think about us. That is the most important thing.
Thanks. So Tapas, I would like to invite your opinion on this.
Uh, J.R. Thorpe, she said that there are two aspects to it. She related it with identity of person with disability and, whether you would like to be identified as a person first and then maybe, recognized with your disability. So I think as an individual, I believe that disability is a part of my core identity, and I would love to be called as disabled person. For example, people often use the terms as PWD candidate. Now, it's essentially, the fact that we are using a wrong English. How can we use PWD candidate, person with disability candidate? I mean, does it make any sense? Either we have to say that candidate having a disability or disabled person. So we have to, be recognized as part of the inclusive community. And my disability is because of the attitude. Uh, for example, a wheelchair user, if he cannot climb the steps, there are no ramps, then it is not his or her problem. It is the problem of the organization or the society he's living in, where such access accessibility provisions are not there. So what is essential is that the terminology should be used after the consultation of uh, persons with disabilities in the country, and many countries have done that. For example, in Canada in 2005, they had a very good research on this. So definitely, and it's great that at least communication with regard to this terminology has started, and we should go a long way taking this thing forward, and definitely should take this to the community for the consultation.
Very true. So, Tapas, you brought in a very important aspect, which was the right to self identify. And I think that's something that usually gets overlooked in our country when even these heated debates are usually by persons from the non disabled community. Like when, you must have had this experience too, that when we talk about anything in our communication on our social media of our NGO, then a lot of people get offended equally by these two terms, different persons with disability and specially able. So there's one sect of people that gets offended that why are you referring to them as disabled or persons with disabilities? Call them specially able. And then there are some people who say stop patronizing them by calling them specially able, call them what they are. So, and I think what you've brought in is a very important aspect, that first and foremost, the right of identifying this terminology should lie with the community themselves, because they are the ones who have to live with this terminology, and whether they just whichever term they prefer should include their agency as well. So thanks for that, Tapas. And I would now like to call Maitreya on this. And Maitreya, since you've also studied law, so do you think that the government, when they were forming these acts, that did they take the did they consult persons with disabilities on how they would like to be identified on this, or do you think that it was something that did not adequately consider the agency of persons with disabilities?
Hi. So the government did have a lot of consultations, and actually, it was an entire process that went about from about 2010 to 2016 when the Disability Act was passed. So it was a long period of consultations, reconsultations, and drafting and redrafting. But what I essentially think is the government has based this entire legislation of the 2016 Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act on premise of the UN Convention on Rights of Persons with Disabilities, which is the benchmark internationally. So if your act is in line with the UN Convention, you know that the things that they have mentioned are going to be correct. And correctly so, the 2016 Act does use the term person with disability, which is the correct legal terminology to be used, which is in line with the international benchmark. So there are two things here. One is persons with disabilities and disability rights groups were obviously a part of the consultation that went into the entire drafting process of the act. At the same time, the government has borrowed a lot from the international best practices and the UN Convention. So they are right in their approach so far as the legislation is concerned. And because you see, there is a major change in the kind of models, the societal models of viewing or perceiving disability that are kind of shaping how persons with disabilities are called and the terminologies that are used for them.
Right.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in your opinion, what do you think is the most appropriate term, if there is a thing such as one appropriate term?
There is definitely an appropriate term, Chandni, because you see in the countries like US or UK, the standards that they follow that I've extensively read upon in the terms and then theories of sociology, and so the standard that they follow is the closest in proximity to the identity of an individual. So I would say in India, if you want to decide, if there is any person who should decide how to refer to person with disability, I guess it should be the simplest term you can use. What would be the simplest term you can use for a person with disability? Which is obviously you have the person and the person has disability, so it can be either person with disability or disabled person, because that is again a debate between, as Tapas referred, a debate between person first and disability first. But when people start innovating on themselves, when you add things like specially able, differently challenged, specially challenged, and so many other things that bring in other factors, when I say you have a simple terminology, and then when you add things to it, so when you add sympathy to it, when you add inspiration to it, when you add motivation to it, so when you keep on adding these factors and innovating the terms, it starts getting messed up with every new terminology that you. So just to give a little example, I had written this movie review of the movie Zero that Shah Rukh Khan had acted in. And what happened was, a lot of these film critiques that had written the reviews of the movie, they used the term vertically challenged. Now, vertically challenged is not a legal term. It is not even a medical term. There is nothing like vertically challenged. If you look it up in the dictionary, so it is a term that they evolved and they innovated themselves for anyone who has say who is short height, anyone who is has dwarfism. So I would say take the simplest term, which is closest in the proximity to the identity of that individual.
Right. And since you've brought in different specific disabilities, I think that there's this debate also extends to specific challenges, like for example, there's a debate on whether you should call persons with visual impairment as visually impaired or blind. So there are people who get offended by either of the terms. So would you like to pitch in on this thing? Do you think that does it deserve the kind of heated debates that it does, or like Sana mentioned, that the idea should be to give them equal opportunities rather than just getting stuck in this terminological superficial debate?
Chandni, can I speak on this?
Sure. First, we'll take Sana, and then I'll come back to Maitreya.
So, is the phone kept fine? Is it fine? My video is clear?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So, I want to say that it's in this term that we have discussed, like if you take the case of in our disability of visual impairment, so the visual impairment and blind, okay. So, I have also come across people who get offended if you call them visually impaired. They say, okay, if you call them blind, okay, how can you say this? So, but what I think is that since if you see both the terms, like visual impairment, it also means that you are not able to visualize, you are not able to see everything, you are not able to properly see through your eye. And blindness is also more or less, if you see, the meaning is more or less same. So I think instead of focusing more on the terms which are there, like for visually impaired blind, focus should be more on how to uplift them, how to bring in, how to make them aware, how to generate opportunities for them. And the point which Maitri said, I completely agree with him. Okay, we should find a term which is closest to it, which is proximity, because like he said, in the movie Zero, they have referred vertically challenged of someone who has not even read a single piece on this subject, disability. He might not be able to understand whom we are referring to while we are addressing about vertically challenged people. So that is the thing. Our identity comes first, our disabilities come afterwards. So we should not lose our identity. If someone is saying yo ho bichara, so don't lose your identity. We should always ensure that our identity remains strong.
Thank you for bringing in that. And Maitreya, I'll come back to you now.
Yes. Right. So, Chandni, going back to your question on specific disabilities, and because I guess we have uh, people with blindness here on the meet. So you see, if you start breaking down these terms in very purely, because you see, when you want to understand how these terms are coined or how do people perceive when they call it, or how these terms would actually have started, you should, sometime go back to the sociological theories. And if I give you a proper breakdown of these terms, visually impaired, visually challenged, and people with blindness. Uh, See, visually impaired comes from a very medical model of disability where you only look at the medical or the biological inherent deficiency or defect that the person has and nothing else. And that is exactly what you call by visually impaired, because you are only looking at the impairment and nothing else. The person doesn't come in. If you look at visually challenged, it is purely charity in the perspective, because you are only looking at the challenges the person is facing and not the person actually. So these are different models, and to understand, to just give you a very brief idea of how these terminologies don't remain to just in the discourse, but they actually go a long way in how policies and laws are shaped in the country. I'll give you an example. The 1995 Act of Disability and even the 2016 Act today in India, majority of your disability, entire the status and your identity rests on what the doctor tells you or what the doctor certifies you. So I am a person with blindness, but if a doctor today writes me a certificate saying that no, you don't have a disability, then I won't be disabled in this country legally. And that is exactly where you go back to this medical model that has come in. And there are equally things that go into the charity model. For example, just a day before I read this news report from a state government that they are giving uh, monetary incentives to people, to non-disabled people, to marry a person with disability. So if you have a wedlock with a person with disability, the government will pay you an ex gratia amount of 50,000 or 1 lakh. So these are the kind of things that go a long way. So the debate is not limited to terminologies alone, and that is why I again go back to what I said in my previous answer. The simplistic term: you have the person, and the person has blindness, so it's person with blindness, which should be the ideal benchmark and the standard terminologies to be used.
Right. Thank you for that, Maitreya. And you brought in some very valid points. Tapas, would you like to add into this? And like Sana said, personally, do you ever get offended by any term when someone refers to you as a blind person? Like Sana said, some people do.
uh, no, Chandni, never ever. I think because uh, awareness is very essential, and uh, consultation and communication is very essential. Till the time we will not be having a communication, and if somebody is not calling us by the correct term, we should definitely understand that we have to work more, we have to be more visible. So visibility of our identity is very essential, and this is the urgent need of the hour, that we make ourselves visible, and we are kind of telling people as to who we are, and then only we can expect a positive change in the society.
Right. So thank you for that perspective, Tapas. And do you think that this change has been brought about since you've also been a part of different NGOs who are advocating for persons with disability? Do you think that this terminology, the change in terminology, has been brought about by the lobbying efforts or advocacy efforts by different groups who sort of changed these words, that some words have gone out of existence, like there are some words like crippled or retarded that have been replaced by like euphemisms. So do you think that um, where do you think that we are moving? Do we want to move towards that, or do we want to remain to the legally correct or medically correct terminology?
So I think we have to be close to the legally correct terminology, and what is there for us in the act. We have to be very close to death. At the same time, there's this urban-rural divide that we have to cover, which is there because uh, working with many NGOs, and as we went to Kanpur for the Raindrops Foundation drive, so we observed that still things need to be brought in place as to people just know ki if somebody is visually disabled, or somebody is hard of hearing, then his entire functionality is getting stopped. He cannot do anything. So this alternative model, we have to explain it to people that we have alternative ways of thinking, and we have to have this urban rural divide getting curved. Only then we can expect this thing, because sitting in a metropolitan city, we can cover certain people, but what about the person who is living there in the village?
Right. Thank you so much. That was a very important point that you introduced, Tapas. And I think we've covered quite a lot of different perspectives on the different terms. And I'm really glad that all three of you gave in your inputs from your personal life and your fields of expertise. And I'm sure that people will take home something from this, out of this discussion. And before going, is there anything else that you would want to add, Sana or Maitra?
Chandni, can I add something?
Sure. Please go ahead, Sana.
Basically, what I think is that it is very important for us as an individual to to make the people around us aware, be it in your family, be it in your friend circle, be it uh, in your professional world, because if it is not that the other person is at fault. If suppose today I have got a job in a company and I have joined, so people will ask me कि how do you work, how do you matlab operate computer. So I have observed that some people will explain them, but some people will think why they are asking such type of questions. So they feel कि हमसे ये क्यों पूछ रहे हैं, why they are asking. So their intention some is because obviously they are not they have not seen such such cases. Yeah, they have not dealt with such type of people in the past. So it is as an individual, it is our duty as well to sensitize and aware as much as we can the people around us, so that they also feel कि नहीं, they are an asset for the society. They also can contribute a lot, and they can do what we can do, but the way they do is different. Because if you don't, until and unless the people around us understand that we are not less than anyone, so they will keep sympathizing on us, and which is not good. We don't want anyone's sympathy. So it is it is, as an individual also, it is our duty, although the organizations and the they are doing their efforts, but at an individual front we also have to contribute in this
Very true, Sana.
issue.
Maitreya, can we have your personal experience, since you were living in the hostel, and as far as I know that GNLU has people belonging from diverse states coming over there. Did you face any such kind of experience where you felt at certain occasion that there has been some kind of uh, non-awareness with regard to your identity or something like that?
So that was, I don't think there was a complete lack of awareness. I think our generation is the level of sensitivity, and there is a progressive thought that is I guess I'm seeing gradually in our generation. So there was not as much a lack of awareness in at least in the terms of behavior with the people that I lived with for the past 5 years in JNLU. In terms of policies and internal policies of the university and the administrative regulations and all, I was the first blind person to have entered the university, so definitely I had to, uh, work a bit with the administration on changing those. But in terms of general social behavior and my general acceptance at the university level, I don't think I phased as such. And believe me, I think I'm not boasting, but I would give a little credit to myself also that I'm very vocal about my rights and what I think or how I think I should be included in the mainstream conversation or mainstream circles. So that might have also played a little role in this entire experience of mine. Yeah.
So thanks for bringing in your personal experience and sharing that with our listeners, Maitra. And I hope that many other people with different disabilities are as lucky as you were, and they also get as vocal as you are in talking about their rights. So thank you so much for joining us today, Tapas, Maitri, and Sana. It was a pleasure listening to you and your thoughts. And hopefully, we'll be able to host more such people, hear the experiences, and learn from their thoughts. And like Sana said, that people with disabilities don't always look for sympathy. So it's better that we start empathizing rather than sympathizing. And this is what we've always believed at Raindrops, that empathy is better than sympathy. Thank you for joining.